Welcome to Simple Discipleship Unfiltered,
where
no topic is off limits.
Hey, welcome everyone to Simple Discipleship Unfiltered. I'm Diana, and with me is
Kendall
and Ashton.
Hey, we're back. We've been on a little vacation time. We've all took some time away with our families, and just after the 3 months ago, we went to started this brand new work, and it seems like it's been a year, but it's only been 3 months. But the enemy has come in like a flood, and so we said, well, we're going to just take some time before the end of summer for school starts, and just get away. Did y'all enjoy your time off?
I did.
I don't think it was long enough.
Nope. It's never going to be
a
long
week or
enough.
two.
So everybody went to the ocean, and I was in the ocean. I was on the northwest side. I went to Alaska, and that was cool.
So fancy.
And you guys were in Florida, and then down at the Gulf, and was it nice? Just the ocean. You don't like the beach?
Nope, not even a little bit.
I don't even mind if sand gets in places that it's supposed to get.
I don't really love that.
I don't care. I just love the sound of the ocean, and just to look out, and it's just open.
I love the sound, but that's what they make sound machines for.
Yeah, no, but that's not the same. You can't smell it. You can't smell the salt.
It smells like fish.
And hear the little, yeah. Okay, I'm not traveling with you, but
Not to the ocean. I love the lake. I'm a lake girl.
I do like the lake. Yeah. We need to do a camping thing, but anyway, I'm cool about that. Y'all ready? You're refreshed? Mm-hmm. Good. So let's talk about today who our adversary is, because I think that we, as Christians, we kind of shrink back from talking about the devil, because we don't want to give place to him, but he's very real. And so since Jesus' first act after he was baptized is to be led into the wilderness to combat the devil, I think that that's something that we understand, that once we step out into a new thing, we're also gonna have to combat him. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't know, one, that we have an adversary, we're never gonna, two, understand how to defeat him, right, and how he operates and all that stuff. So we're gonna take some time, not to glorify him, but to glorify how much Jesus works in our life every day and gives us tools to combat him. Okay? Mm-hmm. So when we understand that we have an adversary, the adversary, his whole definition is that he's very antagonistic, and he wants to always come and what? Steal, kill, and destroy, right? So when he comes to kill, means he wants to take you out. He wants to steal. He wants to take away everything that God has given to you. And then he wants to destroy. He wants to destroy the plans and the visions and purposes that God has inside of you, and that God has planted there on purpose. We know that in the beginning, God said, I'm going to give you a plan. Here's your purpose. I'm giving you the vision. You're supposed to write the vision down. We talk about in Habakkuk. So when we write down that vision, what happens? The first thing that happens is the adversary comes to do what?
Steal, kill, and destroy.
Yeah, all of that. He comes to say, regardless of what I see on the paper, you're never going to see it come to pass. Mm-hmm. That's his job. And so what we have to understand as Christians, those who are in right standing with Christ, because there's a definition there, let's just interlude this, in that being a Christian means that I'm in right standing with Christ. Sometimes my adversary comes because I open a door for him to come, and he's permitted to come in and do those things. And then there's a time where it's because of the call on your life that he's so adamant to come and kill, steal, and destroy what God has purpose for you.
Right.
And so a lot of times what we want to say is, let's stop and say, am I in the middle of this because I opened a door to it? Or am I in the middle of this because God has a purpose in it? Remember, we talked about, I know in a preparation audio thing we did, the podcast we did, is that we talk about how God can use what we go through to get us to the next phase, and that the enemy, though he comes to destroy us, God takes a purpose out of it and turns it around, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the same thing. If we understand that he, in all of this, the enemy's plan, what he comes to do is to injure us, which means he is going to cause physical harm and cause damage, right? Or he comes to overthrow, means he wants to bring about a downfall or destruction or ending what God has purposed in us. Or he wants to confound us. He wants to bring confusion. He wants to bring delay. Because if we become confused and perplexed about what we're doing, what's going to happen? We're not going to pursue it, right? Mm-hmm. So have you ever, either one of you, I want you to take a time to say, have you ever been in a position where the enemy has come against you? And what do you feel like when you're in the middle of that? What does it make you feel?
I think for me, I think I can get in the kind of confused state of, I think there's a big deal of acknowledging that it is him, right? Because if not, then we're looking completely at ourselves. We start getting discouraged. We start thinking, I can't do this. I told y'all this week, like, I'm ready to throw in the towel on some things,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think when we don't, and I'm trying to get my thoughts in order, but I think that is where you have the line of don't acknowledge the enemy because we don't want to give him any credit, to acknowledge him because then you have a right to overthrow him. Then you have the authority over him when you can say, hey, I see what you're doing. And now I know that this isn't something I'm doing wrong, or you're just trying to kill, steal, and destroy. And so now here I am, and now I have something to stand on to say I'm coming for you. Mm-hmm. But I think more oftentimes than not, I get in the headspace of I'm not good enough. I can do this, because it's what he wants us to do. He wants us to get into this spiral of all the things that we aren't. Because if we get to that point enough into all the thoughts, then we just, like she said, we won't pursue what the Lord's asking us to do. So,
right.
It's just kind of me.
I feel like I've noticed his attacks way more than, especially coming into ministry. And I feel like knowledge is power. I've always believed that when you're knowledgeable, it's hard for someone to like pull the wool over your eyes. And I feel like he's really good at that, because no one goes deep enough to gain knowledge about the enemy, because we have to know his tactics. And so for me, I've really noticed him a lot more, mostly since Cash and I have been prophesied over. That's when he's coming in. Like, I got the knowledge of where we were supposed to go and like what we're supposed to do, and the enemy's like, oh no, you're not. Nope, you're not doing that. And so then it's like, okay, then you start to question. This is what he does for me, I guess, again with confusion, like, well, did they really hear that right? Not only do you question your...
Maybe they meant...
Yeah, but then you begin to question other people who are walking in their authority, So I feel like that's where he really gets me. And even acknowledging, sometimes I feel like I can just like hear him laughing at me, because I can be like, I see you, I see what you're doing. And he's like, but do you really see? So I feel like that's... I don't even remember the question. That's just where my head's been.
Yeah.
Just...
I feel like what you said, like knowledge is power. I mean, it's biblical too, that people perish from a lack of knowledge. So when we don't have knowledge of the enemy, we perish, we die, we shrivel up and don't take ground. We don't take our authority back. We don't do what God's called us to do. Why? Because we don't even know. We've been taught, like, don't talk about the devil. Don't give him any credit. And it's like, but wait a second. I have to know about him in order to have authority over him.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
and that's the point. And that's why we're going to talk about him today. Not because he's all that. He's not. It's because we let him be all that. Mm-hmm. And so we have to learn to get into a position where when an attack comes, because it's going to come, okay, especially in ministry. Yeah. First thing I told you guys when we started this walk was that the enemy's going to come in like a flood.
It's hard.
It's hard. And if you don't have, the guts about it, the authority in it, then he's just going to rip and shred you apart, because he's going to come and try to do that. That's the first thing he's going to do. And he has rightfully so, done that, right? All of us. He said, yeah, let's try that. Let's see who you think you are. So my thing now is that we recognize who he is. We know why he's coming and how he's going to come. Now we've got to talk about how are we going to combat him. Okay? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and take our commercial break in the middle, and then we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, if you've been blessed by SDU and you feel led to give to this ministry, here are some ways you can do that. You can text GIVE to 833-576-1168. You can also go to our website at m3mi.org to the tab Sow a Seed. You can also send a check or money order by mail to P.O. Box 1318, Forney, Texas 75126, and all gifts are tax deductible. Thank you for your seed.
Thank you for your seed. We do appreciate those who are giving and who are helping to help us to move forward. We're going to have some things to talk about possibly in the next couple of weeks as we're trying to move forward in this. Y'all know right now we're meeting at a movie theater, and it has been a challenge. Especially for these girls, because they have to load and unload and load and unload and all of that, all of the equipment that we use. But nevertheless, God is opening doors for us, and we want to thank him for that. And thank you guys for giving. Everything is tax deductible, so thank you for that. And if any of you know of anyone who has land for sale, please reach out to us on our website. And that information was just given. So anyway, back to the enemy. And I know that this is going to take us into a couple of episodes, because what that then suggests is that we recognize where he's coming in. Okay. So we talked about on Sunday when we were teaching was how he comes into our mind. Mm-hmm. Everything comes in and is filtered first into our mind. And so a thought comes and begins to become marinated in our heads, and we will think about it and think about it and think about it, and we're going to think about it and we're going to think about it some more until what happens? We're either going to capture that thought or we're going to let it marinate in there until what happens? We begin to speak it out of our mouth, or we begin to act out on it. Right. Have you ever had a time where the enemy brought in a thought, because it all is going to start in your mind. Every single thing that he does starts in your mind. And when he begins to do that, what do? What's the best thing to do, or what do you find yourself doing? Sometimes it might be two different things.
I think I'm kind of in the thick of that right now. Just the Lord's preparing me to take the thoughts captive. I remember actually on Sunday, I was sitting in the restroom. I went to the restroom, and for some reason I had this overwhelming thought that River, my youngest one, walked out of the door behind me. She wasn't behind me, but I just that's how the enemy comes in and just plants weird things. That she walked out behind me, and then that somebody just came and snatched her up. Mm-hmm. And I, for a half a second, I thought about it again. And I was like, nope, I take that thought captive. Mm-mm. And then it didn't stay there. It didn't linger. I took it captive, gave it to the Lord. He does what he does with it. But more often than not, I find myself thinking about it. Because sometimes, can we be honest to say that we don't realize it might be the enemy planting the thought, and we might have planted it ourselves, or we, go through all these rabbit trails and come up with our own things. And so, yeah, I need to work on taking the thought captive, because I like to marinate those thoughts too often.
Yeah. I'm not too good at taking the thoughts captive. Let's just be real. I think there's some people that will listen and think, I have really, really, really horrible intrusive thoughts, just things I don't even think we should share on the air, because it's just what he does. He knows how to get us, and he knows. And so sometimes when I lay at night, I'm just like, Lord, I can't go to sleep like this, and I really just need you to take this. And I know I need to get better at, I have that authority. I need to do it. I need to say I take that captive and throw it away. And I think it's just a learning process. You can't beat yourself up, you know, in the beginning I would like beat myself up because I wouldn't take them captive, and I would just feed them, and then your anxiety rises, and then depression comes in, and it just takes you to a whole, that little thought can take you to such a dark place. And so I think it just takes practice. And now I find myself, when I do think it, like, okay, don't let your heart rate go up. Just calm down, and then I take it, and I'm throwing it out. I'm done. So
I think there's so much more we can go into with capturing our thoughts, right? And time always goes so fast when we're together. But one thing that I always want to say, and if you hear baby in the background, that's fine. She's just getting prepared for her nap. But that we have to learn. We're in a process. None of us are there. None of us are going to be there until Jesus comes back. And we need to give ourselves some grace about where we are right now. Because we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. I love that Joyce Meyer used to say that. She said, we're not where we used to be. We're not, but we are headed to where we want to be. And as long as we're taking steps every single day, then God honors that. And so I want us to continue in the next episode talking about how to capture these thoughts, how to bring our mind and our thought pattern into submission to what the Word of God says. And we don't want to negate that. But as we leave this episode, we want to leave you with our motto. So go show some love.
Show some compassion.
give mercy.
And go be Jesus today.
Hey, SDU family, thank you for joining us today. We do value your feedback, so if you have any questions or suggestions of topics, please feel free to reach out to our email at info@m3mi.org or reach out to us via text or call to our SDU hotline. The number is 214-600-7771.